Great. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for being here today. I'm excited because I get to share with you a little bit more about my 4 pillars. Um, and I just wanted to check in with Marina just before we start, because when I'm spotlighting me, I'm getting you. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong.
I can see you like front and center. Can
Okay.
everyone else, if everyone else can see Heather front and center, just put your thumb up or shake your head yes. Okay, good.
Okay, great. Thank you. The wonders of technology, which always used to freak me out, but now I'm becoming more curious about it. And it's like, why is this doing this when it should be doing that? So I get to talk to you today about all the things I'm working on, but also how they can be very helpful for you. And MER. So MER itself, people have said, what is MER? YMER, movement for everyday resilience. So that's kind of the reason it's called MER, but also the word mer is a French word for sea, like the sea. And I think of water and the sea as something that flows. And what we're always kind of looking for within ourselves is that kind of flow. So energetically, we want movement in whether it's our breathing, our circulation, our lymphatic system, and even our, kind of being in the world. We don't want things to get stuck. That brings me to my 4-pillar approach. One of the reasons I thought about the 4-pillar approach was because I am a public speaker, and the last couple of years I haven't had a chance to be out speaking much, but I will get back out there. And having issues with my knee, I'm really aware that standing on a stage for 45 minutes or an hour isn't terribly viable. I started to think about how could I find something that is meaningful for my speech and use it as a prop. And I thought about a stool. And if I had a stool as a prop, how could I use it to talk about wellness? And finally, I realized I can actually create a stool, and I'll probably have to have one custom made because I ordered one and it's about like 1.5 inches too tall. So unless I cut off the legs, you realize that I'm unique and I need to be custom made. But the thing about the stool, which I realized was important, is the stool had to have 4 legs or 4 pillars. Why? Because the 4 pillars that I like to talk about and are the pillars of my wellness program are body, mind, emotions, spirit. I learned the 4 pillars from Alana Rubenfeld, who I studied with for the Rubenfeld Synergy Method. And that study was something I started in 1998 through till 2002. So it was quite like 20 years ago. And I have been a Rubenfeld synergist. And it's something I haven't really shared a lot with. But Alana taught me about the 4 pillars: body, mind, emotions, spirit. And I've started to really embrace and integrate those into the work that I do. So whether it's movement classes, the Wellness SOS program, or speaking, I want to make sure that those are clearly understood. So I think let me go into the Wellness SOS program a little bit. So Wellness SOS really is, the idea came to me because a lot of times when I'm talking to clients, and they could be movement clients, or they could be people who specifically come for Rubenfeld Synergy, or other clients who are just struggling to find the right supplements, let's say, that they want to take. I find that we start going deeper. And so sometimes somebody will come and it's a very specific question about, like, am I taking the right vitamins? Now, I am not a doctor. I am not a naturopath, but with my own experiences, I've realized that there are products that can be improved. And there's a lot of products that have things in them that I have also studied and gone to many different courses about that are really things that we should be avoiding. So I start to look at every single label. I look at labels on food, obviously not fresh foods. Although I have a preference for certain foods being organic, but I look at labels. I look at labels on foods. I look at labels on whatever I put on my skin and body. I look at labels on every kind of supplementation. So, one client, for example, was doing what would be the right things, taking the right mixture, your D3s and B12s and so on. The improvement was really around, there's some products that can be improved because you can just buy these products instead of these products. And also discovering with her and with other clients too, that maybe they've been sitting an awful lot, especially these last 2 years, and certain things are becoming painful. And by providing some things like customized videos, they're able to start to do these little movements, let's say every hour, after setting a reminder. And then they feel that they're improving their movement. So they may not have time for a full out exercise that day, but they're getting some movement that undoes some of their habitual ways of being or sitting. So Wellness SOS for me has become a place between your doctor or your other practitioners where no one else is talking about it. So there was a client who we were talking about how they sit and where they put their feet and what position their head is in. So always an important position about the head. And her reaction was like, no one else is interested in that. I may go for a massage and they give me a great massage, but they haven't helped me understand my habits and how I can start to change my habits just by noticing them. So a benefit to being part of the Wellness SOS program with me, which I will kind of officially launch soon, is that if you have questions that have to do with your food, or if you've been told you should go gluten-free, I've been gluten-free for a long time, or if you've got a new diagnosis and you feel really upset by it and don't know what to do, those are times when talking to me would be helpful. And because I do the Rubenfeld synergy work, I can help with some of the deep rooted set of emotions that may be connected to either the new things happening in your life or old things happening in your life that have really been a struggle. And we can spend time together online and hopefully soon in person, really starting to delve in just to help you feel better. And then really the next steps may be that I refer you to one of my trusted colleagues. So I know, Anne, you're probably listening. Anne is one of my trusted colleagues because Anne does some phenomenal work with exercise that helps shift you from that feeling of being old and stuck to feeling young again and helping with your movements. And her work has a lot more to do with the brain and eye movements and things like that. So Anne is one of my trusted colleagues. So that's a little bit about the Wellness SOS. So if there are questions and you want to put them in the chat, hold on to the questions because I'll answer all the questions at the end. Another thing I want to talk about today is the nap technique. The nap technique is not about having a nap, but it is about having a reset. So not a rest, but a reset. If you've ever been on my website, you may see that there is a free download guide. And Marina's just going to put the link into the chat. which you can click on, and then you can get the download guide. And the download guide has 3 videos in it, and they talk about the NAP technique. So N stands for notice, A stands for awareness, and P stands for practice. So let's say you had a pain and you notice a pain. Usually the first thing we want to do when we have a pain is make it stop. So we'll do anything to fix it. You might have the pain and maybe it stays around for a couple of days. You go to the doctor and the doctor wants to accommodate you, and the doctor will probably give you a prescription to make it stop. And sometimes the pain itself, as long as it's not extreme and severe, may actually be an opportunity for you to delve deeper into what's going on. Like, why do I have this pain? What caused the pain? So when we notice, it's an opportunity to just stay with it, notice when it's worse, notice when it's better, and just stay with it for a little while. The awareness part of it is to start that exploration. So when I stand and I start walking, my shoulder feels fine. But when I sit down and I'm sitting, my shoulder doesn't feel well. Okay, so is it because of the way I'm sitting? Or is it because of the nature of the work I'm doing that the shoulder is bothering me? And it's all about this awareness that is so ripe for curiosity, that you learn so much from your pain. Because when you learn, you start to be able to practice different habits. And then finally, the P of the NAP technique is really about that practice, and the practice of noticing and becoming aware, and then moving towards change. So when you go to the doctor, you go with your noticing. It's like, oh, it hurts. Doctor gives you prescription. Okay, it goes away. You go on a medication and maybe it comes back. So we haven't addressed the actual underlying. If you're open to spending some time with it, as long as it's not super severe, and you want to notice it and then play with it, become aware of it, and start to develop a way to notice when you're perhaps looking down and you're like, oh, wow, okay, so I have a pain in my neck too, because I'm looking down all the time. So when I start to shift that and change it and change my head movement, does it help? And that's where that kind of practice can make a difference. So it's a new P, because instead of only practice, it's also your new prescription. So that's kind of fun. Talking about prescriptions, I want to tell you about a product launch, and that will be September the 7th. I will be launching my new book. So yay. The book will be filled with some of my stories around how I kind of got from one place to the other in terms of my own wellness. And some of the stories that you may have heard, and some of the stories that may surprise you. And each part or chapter will end with a tool and a tip, but also what I would consider that new way of looking at a prescription. So it will be filled with prescriptions. The truth is, I have a working title, but I don't think it's going to be the final title. I can't even tell you what it's going to be titled, but I can tell you I've committed to a launch date of September the 7th, and it will be launched on Amazon, and I will definitely tell you more about it as time goes on. So just look out for that information. And I'm hoping as well to do like a launch event, one online, hopefully one in person for those who are local. So this is exciting. All right. So I can just keep talking, but I'm at about 20-ish minutes right now. And just before, actually, you know what, we'll do the Q&A and then we'll do the raffle launch, because one person who have registered for this session today will get a free Wellness SOS consultation with me. So we will be looking at that. All right. And I see Marina put in the chat the link to download the free guide. So you can go ahead and click on that if you want to, and you can work on that a little later and just put that in your browser. All right. So let's open it up to a chat. And if you have a